Welcome to another episode of Talkin' Baseball. I'm Jason Andera of Midco Sports with Joel Sage. And Joel is going to be calling the games for the state B tournament just like we did last year. And we are excited, Joel. What are you looking forward to most about this Class B field that we have in front of us?
Well, Monday is going to be a fun day. Last year, there were some absolute dudes on the mound, and it's going to be the same situation this year. There are some guys who can really pitch, so I cannot wait to see some of these guys step onto that brand new turf mound and see what they can do.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. It's going to be a great field. Just like last year, we didn't see a lot of upsets in the regions. We see some very strong teams at the state tournament. And some of these teams were here last year, some weren't. But just the overall field in Class B, there's a lot to look forward to, Joel. What's your impression of this field that we see at the state tournament this year?
I love seeing a great blend of teams coming back after making the state tournament last year and making a run, and even Dell Rapids winning it all, West Central coming up runner-up. They're both back at it. But now we have some newcomers like Madison and Winter Colome, Parkston Trip Ethan. So it's going to be a blast watching these teams. And again, I can't wait for Monday.
You mentioned it, about half these teams. I didn't do the exact math here, but we've got Dells, we've got Platte, we've got West Central, Redfield, and Dakota Valley. So 5 out of the 8 returned from last year with those 3 new teams that you mentioned. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's break down the tournament. We'll start with the first game of Monday, and that's going to be Dell Rapids, who takes on Parkston Trip Ethan. So this Dell Rapids team comes off of a state championship last year. They had what many believe the best player in the state, Austin Henry, scheduled to come back for his senior year. He goes out with Tommy John surgery just maybe a month before the season, but they find their way and they really played good baseball, especially in the second half of the season, and they come in as the top seed in Region 3. You had a chance to check them out during the regions. What were your impressions of this Dell Rapids team?
You're right. I was able to go over to Rickman Field on Tuesday night and watch them play Lennox. And the first thing that comes to mind is that Dell Rapids is athletic. They're athletic at every single position. You know, you watch Trace Eastman, their catcher, and the way he moves back there. CJ Smith at first base, Landon Rusink at shortstop when Jack Henry's on the mound, Braden Panconen out in center field. They're corner outfielders. Dylan Mathis and the Stubby kid. I mean, you go all around their lineup, and they are athletic. I saw Landon Rusink make a play that Kello included on their plays of the week, by the way, where, one of those that just kind of looked like it was going to go into no man's land, foul territory behind third base. But he just came racing all the way over from his shortstop position and just made a fantastic catch. Braden Panconen did the same thing out in center field, kind of got turned around a little bit on a ball that was slicing, but just got creative and athletic right at the end and made a nice play. A lot of people in the crowd thought he dropped it, but it was just his hat that fell to the ground. He popped right up, threw the ball back in, and recorded the out.
Yeah, this Dell Rapids team is a lot of fun to watch. They come in with their ace, Jack Henry, but they also have several other pitchers, including Trace Eastman, who started out the year not 100% injury-wise and really has come in the second half of the season and pitched better. They feel like they got 2 top-level pitchers with those 2 guys, and a lot of depth with guys like Braden Panconen and some of these guys who can come in and throw if they need them to. So Dell Rapids coming in confident, but they take on a team out of Region 1 who really caused some problems this year, and that's Parkston Trip Ethan. This is a team that really scheduled tough. In fact, they scheduled a game against Dell Rapids earlier in the year and beat them. They handed Dell Rapids their first loss of the year, and they've really put together a nice season and got out of their region. It should make for a really fun matchup here to start the day between Parkston and Dell Rapids. Any more thoughts on this matchup?
Parkston Trip Ethan definitely has not backed down, and credit to them for playing a challenging schedule and coming out of a very tough region. We talked about that earlier. Both games were 4-3. I mean, a couple nail biters, and I can't wait to see Ty Negebauer pitch. He's the real deal.
Yeah, Ty Negemeyer probably going to pitch for Parkston. Jack Henry, we would guess, is going to pitch for Dell Rapids. I had a chance to catch up with both coaches earlier this week and talk to Jeff Harris and talk to Danny Miller about this matchup.
Well, I love the fact that Parkston reached out to play us. I saw they had a good schedule. They went out and played Redfield. And when we had a run there when we played West Central, Brandon, Parkston. And at that time, we weren't playing the best baseball, and it kind of caught up with us a little bit against Parkston. But it was a good test, and those are the things that make you better, are those tests.
Jack Henry threw the other night I saw against Lennox. I would think he's definitely a top candidate on who we're going to face first round. So, but again, we've seen good pitching all year, so we're hoping we're ready for that. But again, we've kind of been preaching just one pitch at a time, one inning at a time, one out at a time. Don't live in the past. Don't plan forward. Just focus on the one pitch in front of you. And they've kind of thrived off that these last couple of games where we maybe take a bad call, we have an error, but can't let that affect us and just move on to the next pitch. And they've responded incredibly through that over the region tournament for sure.
So that'll get us started. If that's not a great way to start a tournament between the defending champs and a team that's been at number one in my poll most of the year, going against Parkston, a team that found their way out of one of the toughest regions with a huge win over Vermilion. I mean, I don't know how a better way to start that thing. Coming up a couple hours right after that, we've got another matchup that should be a lot of fun. Platte Geddes, Dakota Christian, White Lake taking on Madison. And Platte Geddes, Dakota Christian, White Lake, the Honkers, they've made it through the season unscathed so far. Just impressions of Platte and what to expect from them, Joel.
It will be fun to see Honker Nation descend upon the birdcage, bringing in Air Jared, the decoy, and I'm looking forward to it.
To have fun. They
absolutely. They were good last year. They competed really well in that first game, just weren't quite able to break through. But I've heard good things about them, and their fan base will be there in full force wearing their Fear the Flock t-shirts. And I think the key for them is they've put up a ton of runs all season. Have they really faced a shutdown ace? So how will they fare in this first game?
They're gonna go out and try to prove something against who many think is one of the player of the year candidates in Class B, and that's Aspen Dahl, who's been absolutely outstanding for Madison, not only on the mound, but at the plate. And more than likely, they'll see him in that first game. You mentioned this Platte team has been to the big game before, like they were last year, but they graduated 4 or 5 key players from that team, and they continue to reload with some really good talent this year. Platte feels like they've got maybe 2 aces. They didn't say which one they're going to start in this first game, but they really have to do the small things to make this work. And then Madison, on the other hand, has really scheduled a tough season themselves, going up against several Class A teams. They have a full JV squad that played a full season as well. This is unlike many Class B teams. They've got a lot of players on this squad.
You're right. Coach Hortness said they had 42 players out for high school baseball, which is fantastic. Great to see so many kids in the program. And Aspen Dahl is a fantastic player. I saw him pitch several times last summer for Renner Post 307. Was used more as a reliever last year, but this year it sounds like he's probably going to take the ball in game 1 and throwing that fastball in the mid 80s, maybe even getting it up to 87, mixing in a good breaking ball and maybe even working in a change a little bit. So it'll be fun to see how well he can keep the Honkers off balance.
It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. And that's kind of a coin flip game. We had a chance to catch up with Eric Hortness and Jeff Kuiper, the head coaches of these 2 squads, to hear what they expect in this game.
Madison's been a program that's always at the top every year, in and out, it seems like, for the last few years, quite a few years. So we expect a damn tough game. Basically, a lot of people say we score a lot of runs. And yeah, we do, but most of it's been, we've been taking advantage. They make a mistake, we've been able to take advantage of it, and we've reduced ours pretty good. Not saying we won't and we don't, but that's kind of how we've really done a lot of these games. Just put the ball in play and then play some defense and hope you're there at the end to give a shot at it.
Well, they can swing it. You know, they got several big, strong guys that can really swing it. You know, just looking at some of their scores, they put up a lot of runs and don't give up very many. So obviously, when you get to this point of the season, you're going to have your hands full, no matter who you're playing. And you know, if they're, I'm familiar with Platte baseball a little bit, just from as long as I've been coaching. You know, Coach Kuiper does a good job. He's been there, you know, I say he's been there forever, but I've probably been in the coaching ranks forever too, if he's been there forever and I know him. But yeah, they're gonna swing it, and they're gonna play defense, and they're gonna have their honker decoy there in the dugout with them and ready to go.
So that's our second matchup of the day at 2:05 between the Honkers and the Bulldogs. Third matchup of the day, we move to a good matchup here between Dakota Valley and West Central. They didn't play each other in the regular season, but they played against each other a lot in the past and at the lower levels. Two teams, Joel, that year in, year out have really established themselves as perennial contenders.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed watching both of these teams last year. If memory serves, West Central was kind of the offensive juggernaut. They put up a bunch of runs to get to the championship, and then started off hot in the final game, but Trace Eastman settled down and kept him in check the rest of the way. Dakota Valley, wow, two fantastic pitching performances. One from Paul Bruns, who pitched the CG and picked up the 2-1 win against Redfield, and ended it, I think, with a strikeout with the bases loaded with his pitch count nearing the end. So that was exciting. And then they played Dell Rapids in an instant classic with Jake Prushniak pitching really well. I think he went all 7 innings and then went extra innings, and Dell Rapids scored kind of on a bloop single with the bases loaded to win that one 1-0. That was quite a matchup. Dell Rapids used Austin Henry and Braden Panconen. So I'm looking forward to seeing Jake pitch again and seeing what West Central can do, because I think going into the game, the region championship game for Dakota Valley, Jake hadn't even given up double-digit hits yet.
Right.
Bonham finally broke through and had some confidence and put up a couple runs on, I think, 6 hits, a few runs on 6 hits. But Jake went the whole way, and Dakota Valley punched their ticket with a Randy Rosenquist sacrifice fly to become the walk-off winners.
Yeah, this game this year could be just as exciting between these two squads. West Central has gotten much better here in the second half of the season, and they really believe that they've done that because they're doing all the little things a little better than they did earlier in the year. And they're going to see one of the best pitchers that we've seen in a while in Class B, and he showed it last year. Jake Prushniak pitched a heck of a gem in the state tournament against, you said it, Austin Henry. And this year, he's going to have his hands full with a good offense against West Central. I think that's going to be one of the highlights of the day, is watching those two go at it. We did talk to Russ Healy, and he said, hey, we're coming in this loose. We're coming in this as possibly the underdogs. A team that's made the state tournament 7 years in a row is kind of coming in maybe under the radar a little bit. Here's what he had to say.
It's going to be an interesting tournament. If anything, we might, looking at the field, we might be the underdog in the field right now. It's you never know. Anybody can win it. And I haven't coached against those guys, but our players have played against them a lot during summer ball. With 16U, 14U. When the Brunses were playing, they come up with our Legion teams and played there too. We've seen them enough. We know they're good. We know they're really good. But they are beatable. We got to stay within ourselves. If our pitchers are not walking people, we can't give free ones up. There's going to be errors that we can't let snowball.
A lot of big names to watch for in this game. We already talked about Prushniak of Dakota Valley, but West Central, they've got some stars on their side as well, Joel.
Yeah, Deuce Sherrard and Grafton Stroop are two names to watch for. We'll see if they can handle the velo and the deception of Jake Prushniak. He's very good at keeping hitters off balance and really attacks the zone. And so they need to be ready to hit.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the lineup too for Dakota Valley, and You got guys like Isaac Bruns, who, he's hitting 517 on the year. Jackson Henney's hitting 408. So they've got some guys that can crush a little bit too. And West Central, they've got a more balanced pitching rotation. They don't have that top shelf ace that Dakota Valley does, but they feel like they've got the depth if they can get past this first game to make some noise just like they did last year. So that should be a lot of fun in our third matchup of the day. Let's move to our nightcap. We've got an interesting one here between winner Colome out of Region 4 and Redfield out of Region 2. And this should be fun because winner Colome has a lot of really good seniors on their squad. Redfield with 4 key seniors on their squad, 3 of them being triplets, and Easton Miller being the other, who have experience from being in the state tournament almost every year. First impressions of this one?
I'm looking forward to seeing both teams, but the familiarity of Redfield is what makes me excited because we had a chance to see them play last year, and what a game between them and Dakota Valley. I know I already mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning again. It was that good. Peyton Osborne was fantastic, keeping Dakota Valley in check and going the distance. Or they may have brought somebody in to relieve him at one point, but I mean, I know he went at least 6. I have to go back and look at my numbers, but did a great job. And I want to see if they can take the next step. Coach Greg has talked about how, they've kind of been knocking on the door, and we'll see, can they finally break it down and win that first game and maybe get on a roll from there.
One of their juniors has been outstanding this year, and Fehi Faonelua, I believe is how you say it. He has not only contributed at the plate, but he has maybe been one of the most improved pitchers that we've seen across the state. And between him and, you already mentioned Peyton Osborne, they feel like they've got a couple top shelf guys. And if they can come up with top shelf performances, that could keep Redfield around for a couple days. But this winter Colome team, they're an interesting bunch as well. This is a team that, had the one loss against Platte earlier this year, but have really mowed through the rest of their schedule. And they feel like they've got a lot of leadership on this team, with Charlie Pravacek, and Joey Cole has had another outstanding year for them. They've got a lot of guys, including Aiden Barfus, a sophomore, who is really taking the state by storm in the way he's swinging the bat as well. So I think we've got a good one here. And coaches Austin Calhoun and Tommy Gregg talk to me about the anticipation of this big game.
I mean, our expectations coming in and this whole year, like I kind of stated earlier, we thought we had a pretty good chance of making it last year, came up a little short, and we wanted to prove to ourselves and everybody else that we could make it to this game. But I don't think it's about just making it. I think we have a good enough team to beat them. We'll have a guy, not sure who we're going to go with yet, but whoever we go with, we'll have guys that are going to throw a lot of strikes. And like I said, all 9 guys in the lineup have really come along of putting the baseball in play, putting pressure on the other team.
It's going to be a tough tournament. This group wants to take that next step. We did win the junior legion, but we've gotten second legion, and we've been here the 4 past years that we've had not COVID canceled, and we thought we had a good chance of getting in then. And so we got to take that next step. But this tournament this year is loaded.
So just like the other matchups, really looking forward to seeing Redfield and Winter Colome, 2 programs that are used to being at the state tournament, and they both really feel like they need a big win to get on the map to be an actual title contender here, Joel.
Yeah, that's what they want to do. I mean, they have put together a fantastic regular season and played really well in the region tournament. That was a good win over Howard. Howard's no slouch. Coach Greg talked about how earlier in the season, Howard was one of their tougher opponents, and he felt like they really had to work hard to win that one in the regular season. They handled them pretty well in the region tournament to get to state, but they feel like it's time for them to really step up.
Well, those are your first round matchups. Of course, that'll be followed on Tuesday by semifinals and championship action. And if you can't get to the Birdcage, check us out on Midco Sports. If you don't have us on cable, you can always go to the app Midco Sports Plus and check that out as well. And I'm just really looking forward to diving into a lot of games, but a lot of fun. And we'll be there with Joel Sage the whole time. I'm looking forward to working with you, Joel.
Likewise, Jason, we had a blast last year and I expect this year to be no different.
All right. For Joel Sage, I'm Jason Andera. Thank you, baseball fans, for watching all year on Talkin' Baseball, and we'll see you out at the Birdcage.